Hello and welcome to the Edgy Games channel. This is Josiah and I have got opinions on gaming stuff. Now, I decided to take a little break. Take a little break off of theorizing. I've been playing Skyward Sword a bit more. I've been looking around. I haven't been seeing too much, so I figured now would be a perfect time to talk about the Nintendo Switch. Recently, some things got revealed about the sizes of certain games in comparison to how much the Wii U can hold. So here are my concerns about all that. Number one, what is the holding size of the Nintendo Switch? I think it's 36 gigabytes, and not to mention all the things that it's already using, all the space it's already using. It's like, I think all the available space is around 28 gigabytes, which is not much, and we just realized how much that is not much because of the certain games that got revealed to be certain sizes. I think Dragon Quest, the new Dragon Quest game, took the cake with like 32 gigabytes. You shouldn't be. People are like, oh, if you want to go full digitally with the Switch, what are you going to run into? My recommendation is just don't go full digital with the Switch. Just don't. I mean, yes, it has SD card compatibility, but the most amount of gigabyte space that you're going to get with a micro SD card is 298, I think, 250 something, and that's going to cost you about like $200. So in all, the systems with being able to do digitally is going to be $500. I would say just go to the game store. Just go to the game store and buy your games, right? I don't think that digital is a viable option. I think you need to save what space you have on your Nintendo Switch for any kind of DLC that may come for the games that you're going to be playing. And this is another stickler. Because the Nintendo Switch is not backwards compatible, I would think that that virtual console games would be incredibly important to the Switch. Simply because I can't play the new Smash Bros. On my Switch. I can't play. So my question is, are they going to come up with ports to some of these games, or are they going to be selling them on the eShop as kind of like a virtual console kind of thing? If they're doing that, that is troublesome. And the reason is because the Switch only holds around 36 gigabytes. That's all it holds. So you won't really be able to get the games on Virtual Console. What I'm doing personally, because I already have a Wii U, I'm just keeping my Wii U. I'm just going to keep it, and I'm going to buy Virtual Console off of the thing. I'm going to buy other things. I'm going to play Wii games on it. I'm probably going to give my Wii away. So that way I can play those old games. But if you're a first-time buyer of the Switch and you haven't bought a Nintendo console in a very long time, the Switch may not be for you. And this is the thing. This is my problem. Because Nintendo's trying to bring in all of these people. They're trying to bring in all these people who played Nintendo consoles as kids, and they're like, oh, Nintendo's coming out with a new console, and it looks really cool. I can't wait to play, maybe some new games, maybe some of the old games too. I want to play some of that. You're not going to be able to do that easily with the Switch, and I think Nintendo, regardless of how much that they've shown that they're trying to make money off of nostalgia, because of the NES Classic, that kind of fiasco. With the NES Classic, they know that their old games want to be played, and they still want to be played, and people want to own them, right? So it's a bit confusing to me that the Switch doesn't have enough storage to be able to download Virtual Console games, especially if what we've heard is true, which is that the things that they're selling on Virtual Consoles, they're selling some GameCube games on Virtual Console. So that's particularly troublesome. If they're going to be selling GameCube games on the Virtual Console, you're running people a lot more money for an extra SD card. That's going to be an issue for me too, because sometimes they're going to have Virtual Console things that aren't on the Wii U, and that's going to be an issue for me. I'm not going to be able to play that on the Switch. Not only that, but the Switch is awesome because I can take it on the go. What if I want to play an old classic game on the go? I'm just not going to be able to do that, which is it's an issue. Another thing about the Switch and about the games, the store. Well, my final word on the storage. The storage is a problem. You can get around it with SD cards. If you already own a huge SD card, I would suggest just use that SD card for your Switch if you're buying the Switch. If you don't, oh my goodness, you're gonna have to. I would say try to avoid digital buying. Try to avoid digital downloading onto your Switch. Just avoid it altogether. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to get physical copies only of my games. If that doesn't work for you, then you're kind of out of luck. Speaking of games, the opening lineup for March 3rd is. Some people have said it's lackluster, and the things that they announced at the Switch presentation and the things that they've announced since haven't really gotten people excited about the Switch and haven't really got people sold on it. Because all in all, what sells a console is the games. And when you look at the opening lineup and the other games that they've announced cool games, interesting games, but not enough third-party games. They made an announcement in the Switch presentation. If you watched it, it said that they had 80 games, 80 games in the works. I'm not sure if when they said 80 games they meant like 80 including like third parties. But if the sign that we've been getting from the third parties is that they want to see how the Switch does before they make anything huge for the thing. And also, game development can stop, especially for third-party support. If the Switch doesn't sell well come launch day, which it looks like it's going to be sold well because I think all the pre-orders are sold, most of the pre-orders are sold for the Switch. So to be able to buy the Switch and do that, if people buy it, then third parties will get on board. They may be developing games for the Switch, but if it doesn't sell, they're going to stop development on those particular games and do them just on other gaming consoles. So when you look at the opening lineup for the Nintendo Switch, it's not good enough to get people sold on day one. It looks like around the holidays you're going to be getting just more content, more games around the holidays, and it looks like they're either planning ahead or they didn't plan well enough. They're either planning ahead because when they look forward, they see, okay, people are going to be wanting to buy things for the Switch in the holidays. Maybe some people don't want to buy the Switch right away. We're going to give them an opportunity to buy the Switch, maybe at a docked price, in the holidays, with all these other games, like the new Mario game. You got that Zelda DLC. You got a lot. Some of the launch titles we're seeing are like Breath of the Wild is going to be pushing units. Breath of the Wild is going to be the thing that's pushing units. ARMS is not going to push units. People are going to buy ARMS. I'm going to buy ARMS. Bomberman may push units. Not a huge amount of units because Bomberman's kind of a cult classic here in the West. I grew up with Bomberman. I'm gonna buy Bomberman, and it's gonna be super fun. I'm gonna play it with my family. It's gonna be awesome. So Bomberman's gonna be awesome. You have some other games that that look like they're going to be good, and people are going to buy the Switch and they're going to be able to play those games on there. But once again, don't try to download that. Don't try to download it. It's not going to work. Buy physical copies if you can, and if you can only get it from Virtual Console, I would suggest getting a Wii U. It's either that, whichever's cheaper. Actually, whichever's cheaper. If $200 for an SD card for the Switch is cheaper for you, then do it. If it's not cheaper, I don't think it will be. I think eventually the Wii U is just gonna not cost like anything, especially after the Switch release. So, but if you guys really want to play those games portably, then you're gonna have to get an SD card, which I definitely think is gonna shun some people away from it. But I still think the Nintendo Switch is going to be just fine, simply because of the amount of hype surrounding it. There's a lot of haters out there, but you know what? I think it's going to be okay ultimately. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have anything to talk about this, post in the comments. And thank you very much for listening. See you.